Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gash, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gash Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
It's a warm reception to our studio here in Serekunda. This is Star TV News with me, Maymuna Fadera. In the headlines tonight, press release, Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital reacts to tragic demise of young mother. President Barrow attends 57th ordinary session of Ecowas in Niamey. Gambia government slams US over sanctions against Fatou Bensouda. Truck causes travel chaos as its body separates from chassis at the Banjul Ferry terminal. Jakunda youth embark on tree planting exercise. Heavy rain caused floods in Ibo town. On the international scene, Sudan declares 3-month state of emergency over deadly floods. Thai student protest boycotts force businesses to pick sides. Belarus protesters continue pressure on Lukashenko with new march. Well, those were the headlines, and now the news in details. In a press release seen by Star TV, it states the reports circulating in the media on the regrettable and heartbreaking events leading to the untimely death of a young mother at a hospital have come to the attention of the management of the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. We would like to express our sincere condolences to the bereaved family. Any death that occurs in the hospital is reviewed as a routine, and we take any allegations leveled against the hospital and its staff very seriously. In this case, we have deemed it necessary to launch an urgent and comprehensive investigation into this matter to piece together the exact events that transpired at EFSTH on that fateful day and any other relevant information surrounding the case, so as to take concrete steps to try and ensure that a similar event does not occur again. The general public should be reassured that in the interest of the transparency, the outcomes of the investigation shall be communicated in due course. In the meantime, we will also like to reassure the general public and all referring institutions that will continue to operate as best as normal, to continue to provide tertiary and referral services despite the current COVID pandemic situation in the country. We will also like to reassure the general public that there is no policy in our hospital to turn away any patient in need of our service. The release ends. Signed by Mr. Keba Sane, PRO. His Excellency President Adama Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia, is currently attending the 57th ordinary session of the Ecowas Authority of Heads of States and Government in Niamey, Niger. Jacqueline Coley tells us more.
President Barrow left Banjul International Airport on Sunday, the 6th of September 2020 at 12 noon and was received by Mr. Ahmed Musi, Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. The 57th ordinary session of the Ecowas Authority will be chaired by the President of Niger, His Excellency Muhammadu Issoufou, and special guests include the President of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, and the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General for West and Sahel region, His Excellency Dr. Muhammad Ibn Chambers. The summit will review, amongst other issues, security, economics, and the impact of COVID-19 on the sub-region. Like every other part of the world, Africa has been affected by the pandemic. Over 1.2 million infections and 30,000 deaths occasioned by COVID-19 have been recorded on the continent. Apart from the extensive deliberation of the COVID-19 special report, the summit will also receive a special report on the Ecowas single currency program, which will be presented by President Julius Maada Bio of Sierra Leone and Chair of the Authority of Heads of State and the Government of West African Monetary Zone, and President Alassane Ouattara, who is Chair of the West African Economic Monetary Union. The President of the ECOWAS Commission, Jean-Claude Cassibrou, will present the 2020 interim report on activities of the sub-regional body, including ECOWAS Vision 2050, to the leaders. Amongst other events scheduled to take place, the rise in incidents of terrorism, insurgency, armed banditry, and piracy will also come under focus, while the disruption of the democratic process by the military in Mali will receive further attention, said the presidential spokesperson. Similarly, in Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, Guinea and Niger, where parliamentary and presidential elections are scheduled for this year, the imperative to strengthen democracy in the sub-region by respecting constitutional provisions, rule of law and outcomes of free and fair polls will be emphasized. Jacqueline Coley, reporting for Star TV News.
The Gambia government on Saturday condemned the US sanctions on Fatou Bensouda, the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court (ICC). Well, Dado Cham has more.
Bensouda, a Gambian national, got slapped with heavy sanction by the US government in retaliation for a prompt into alleged war crimes committed by US forces in Afghanistan. But the Gambian government, in a statement, called on the US to reverse sanctions imposed on Fatou Bensouda. The statement, dispatched by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, reads, "The government of the Gambia expresses its dismay over the announcement made by the US government imposing sanctions against Fatou Bensouda, chief prosecutor and other staff of the International Criminal Court. This act constitutes gross interference on the mandate, independence, and partiality of the court in the fight against impunity for perpetrators of the most serious crimes of international concern. The Gambia stands in solidarity with the court, its chief prosecutor Fatou Bensouda, an upstanding citizen of the Gambia, and all other officials of the court targeted by these sanctions. The Gambia continues to value and support the important work of the court in upholding world peace and security. It therefore urges the US government to reverse the sanctions imposed on the officials of the court. The Gambia is not alone in this condemnation quest. Germany and France seem to have joined the bandwagon. Germany calls this sanction a serious mistake, while France described them as a grave attack. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas on Friday described the sanctions, which include freezing the US assets of Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda and one of her aides, as a serious mistake. His comments follow calls from France and EU on Thursday for Washington to withdraw the sanctions. French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian said in a statement that the US sanctions were a grave attack against the court and beyond that, a questioning of multilateralism and the independence of judiciary. France calls on the United States to withdraw the announced measures. Joseph Borrell, the EU's foreign policy chief, said the US sanctions were unacceptable and unprecedented. The International Criminal Court plays an essential role in delivering justice to the victims of some of the world's most horrific crimes. Its independence and impartiality are crucial characteristics of the court's work, which are fundamental for the legitimacy of its judgment. Borrell said in a statement urging the US to reverse course. The International Criminal Court has also condemned the unprecedented sanctions imposed by the United States on Bensouda. The Hague-based tribunal said the sanction announced by the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Bensouda and another senior officials were serious attacks against the rule of law. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced this latest sanction against ICC officials on Wednesday, 2nd of September 2020. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dado Cham.
A truck disrupted travel for scores on Sunday after its body left in chases, prompting goods to fall into the sea as it attempted to get on the ferry. Maria Madam has more of these details.
The body, which was fastened to the chassis of the truck, skidded sideways as the truck tried to board the ferry, prompting goods to fall into the sea, said Haligai, manager of ferries. Speaking to Star TV on a WhatsApp video call, Mr. Guy said that it was the fault of the truck driver who overloaded the truck with merchandise that caused the body of the truck to skid sideways, prompting goods to fall into the sea. Some people took on social media to blame Gambia Ferry Services, but Mr. Guy was quick to put the blame on the person who took the pictures that are currently circulating on social media, highlighting that the angle in which those pictures were taken looks like they are at fault. But to Haligai, there is a hidden agenda as to why the person took those shots at a different angle. The incident happened around 12 p.m. on Sunday, causing delay for scores of travelers, but normality has now been restored as the distress truck has been built out. According to the Banjul Bara Ferry Services, was to halt operations for at least 1 month effective August to allow for the construction of the 2 ferry ramps. The Gambia Ports Authority Deputy Managing Director Hali Abdullahi Gai said yesterday that the prefabricated ramps have since arrived in the country from the Netherlands, but the construction of the landing sites were delayed by the outbreak of the COVID-19, as those who are contracted for the job are coming from Holland. The Gambia Ports Authority is given the mandate to manage and provide all necessary marine and harbour facilities, cargo handling, equipment and storage, as well as to regulate, enhance and to carry out regular maintenance of the complex. Mariama Dem, reporting for Star TV News.
The community of Jakunda in Wuli West District, in collaboration with Kuta Jambulu Youth Association, has embarked on a massive tree planting exercise within the village surroundings to protect their community from the effects of windstorms and flash floods. Well, Moto Albaji files in this report.
A youth group called Kuta Jambulu Association in Jakunda, Wuli West District, in collaboration with the Regional Forestry Office, over the weekend embarked on a massive tree planting exercise. A total of over 600 varieties of trees were planted as part of efforts to recover the lost forest and protect the environment from the effects of windstorm and flash floods. Alhaji Choke Jalo, the chief of Wuli West, said that he was delighted to be associated with such a youth development-led initiative. He sincerely applauded the youth for their commitment to the Go Green initiative, saying that all these seedlings planted last year are already doing well. The Deputy Regional Forestry Officer and the Chairman of the Timber Association applauded the youths for their efforts to protect the environment.
The day today is a very important in other aspect. I'm a native of the village, but also I can stand here to also as the Chairman of the Forestry Association in the Gambia, as you know. So it means I have 2 or 3 different roles to be playing here today. So myself, I really happy and appreciate what the youths have initiated here today. And then I think if they protect it in 3 years' time, when you come, you will see a big differences, a big gap that what we have seen today. And secondly, the tree, the variety that we are planting, especially the cashew, can bring economic support also to the village, because we all know for cashew 3 good years it can start producing. So we only pray for the youth to have more courage as they did last year to protect those 200 seedlings and go ahead and try to protect these 700 to 800 seedlings. And we thank all the delegates on behalf of the associations.
The newly appointed governor of the Upper River region, Sambaba, shared his thought on the community-led initiative. He also expressed gratitude to Kuta Jambulu Youth Association.
Because in national development is everybody's responsibility, as I always say. We all know plants, what we call, are symbiotic. They have what we call symbiotic relationship with people, because it's like a matter of give and take. In a society where there are no plants, it affects the environment, and principally it affects the people now themselves. But if you have people in your region, groups of young people in your region, who are working tirelessly to make sure that they bring back the vegetation cover of that particular region, there is no way that you have to be part of them to complement government efforts. We know that the government of the Gambia has a policy whereby they want to see green Gambia, and therefore this is what also I want to replicate in URR, to have what we call green URR. And this has already started, because we are in the rainy season, and this is the best time to what we call grow trees, and then protect them to make sure that at least they are able to survive. As I told them in my speech, that is growing tree or planting it is one aspect of it, but growing it also for it to mature is another aspect of it, because it is just like a small, what they call a child.
Governor Sambaba also calls on the young people in other communities to emulate the Kute Jombulu Youth Associations. Residents of the community were also challenged to protect the seedlings. For Star TV, I am Modu Elbaji.
The Gambia experienced 24 hours heavy rainfall which led to destruction and flooding in Ibo Town community. The rain, which started in the early hours of Saturday, continued to the next day, and it led to destruction of fences and flooding of water in some compounds. Omar Job files in this report.
The 2020 seasonal climate forecast was released in June, and it predicted that the amount of rainfall will be above average, as a quantity of 1,000 millimeters is expected to fall, mainly in West Coast region, North Bank region, Lower River region, and the Greater Banyan area, which may cause a disaster such as flash flood in the communities. Speaking to Star TV, Dembo Koli, a resident of Ibo Town, said that it is very terrible how people are living in this rainy season. A lot of destruction has occurred, which include people migrating from their homes due to the floods. Also, lots of valuable items have been destroyed by the water.
If the rain continues like this, there will be more disaster and there will be increase in poverty, because in these floods, people are suffering. Migration happens daily. Food items getting destroyed by the water and other valuable items have been destroyed. It will be very difficult for people who live from hand to mouth to recover.
Mr. Coley also stated that the government and the philanthropists shall give support to the people in need and urge people living in the community to join hands and work together for the improvement of the surrounding.
Government shall intervene and support while the neighbors do the same thing, because all can be levied on the government. So those in this environment shall come together so that government will also come and support us. If not, things would not be better for us. If each compound contributes something, the total amount can be used to support the vulnerable in the community.
One of the victims, called Tubab, said that he has not been sleeping in his house for days now because the water has taken his house and going out for rent may cost him a lot. On the other hand, it will also be very difficult for him to have a house to rent in this rainy season.
The water in this compound costs us a lot. The water is recently coming beneath. All these rooms are full of water. We have left the house. We are lent a room to spend the night, because right now you cannot find a house to rent. It's hard to find a house and renting is exorbitant.
For Star TV, I am Omar Job.
Well, those were the local stories. We will be back with the international news after the short commercial break. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulanding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gosh, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gosh Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
Welcome back after that short commercial break, and we now look at the news beyond our borders. Historic floods are affecting more villages and neighborhoods in Sudan as the Nile reaches its highest level in more than 100 years. Scientists say development along the banks of the mighty river is partly to blame for the devastating effect of the floods. Al Jazeera's Hiba Morgan reports from Khartoum, Sudan.
Floodwater has covered these streets in in Sudan's capital, Khartoum. Homes were abandoned as water from the Nile filled them, making them uninhabitable. It's the result of a rise in the river's levels, the highest in more than 100 years.
The amount of water was unimaginable. I was at home not expecting the water to reach my house. It reached the house before me, my house and the homes after me. Around my house, more than 40 homes were destroyed by the floods.
People have taken their properties and left their homes. We have houses that have been partially destroyed and houses that have completely collapsed.
In other parts of Khartoum, land that was once dry is now part of the river, which is rising for a third week. It's caused floods that has killed at least 100 people over the past month. More than 100,000 homes have been partially or completely destroyed. A 3-month state of emergency has been announced by the government, and the country is now a natural disaster zone. Where people once walked, boats have become the main form of transport. People mostly use them to get to drier land. This isn't the first time the Nile has flooded its banks, but those affected say it's the worst they've ever seen. Sudan's government says at least 500,000 people have been forced out of their homes as a result of the Nile's unprecedented rise in levels. Experts say a large part of that is because of climate change. Last year, the International Committee for the Red Cross had listed Sudan as one of 10 countries to suffer the consequences of climate change. Climate experts say the increase in rainfall on the Ethiopian highlands is caused by climate change. That's led to more water flowing down the Blue Nile, which contributes to 80% of the Nile's water. That's worrying experts who say development along the Nile is adding to the effects of climate change.
The rains usually come at a certain time and people have been counting on that, and they've moved to areas where the Nile borders the banks. But this year we've seen an increase in the amount of rainfall because of climate change, and so the Nile has flooded more than before. In addition, a lot of trees have been cut down to make place for residential areas near the Nile, affecting the valleys where the water would flow through.
Sudan's government says the levels will continue to rise over the coming days. People say they hope the water doesn't take long to recede, so they can go back to their homes and start the process of rebuilding. Hiba Morgan, Al Jazeera, Khartoum.
Student-led demonstrations have been taking place in Thailand for months. The young protest leaders are using new methods to make their message heard, taking their efforts online as well as on the street. They recently targeted advertisers on a news network that say is pro-government, urging their supporters to boycott companies running advertisements on the network, and big-name brands have responded, pulling their advertising from the network. Al Jazeera Scott Headley reports from Bangkok, Thailand.
It's the young faces that separate the current pro-democracy protests in Thailand from the political divisions of the past. As this movement is run and organized by students, their methods stay true to their generation. They're not only deploying their efforts to the streets, but also online. With concerns about their future, the protesters don't feel the current leadership represents them. They recently targeted advertisers of Nation Multimedia, a news network they say is pro-government. An online campaign urges supporters to boycott companies running ads on the network. They're demanding changes in the government and monarchy, and that flies directly against what the network stands for, according to its chairman.
We love our country, we love our way of living, we love our religion, and we love our monarchy. To use this social bully against us and right through our sponsor, I think this is wrong and very unethical.
Behind what Nation TV calls social bullying, a first-year university student in her 20s. Summer says her personal details have been previously published by the network, so we're not showing her face.
I think our campaign is a partial success. We still have many things to do. There are other big companies that support Nation, but it will be difficult because those big businesses are practically running the country.
But big-name brands have pulled their advertising, like the owner of the Burger King franchise in Thailand, and app-driven food delivery platform Food Panda, both saying they did so because of customer feedback. Digital marketing experts say companies that react to protest or boycotts might not necessarily be picking sides, but choosing to stay with their key market.
I think for the startup company or digital companies are target more on the younger group of people. So if they're not pleasing, or if they're not taking an action that saying that, oh, me as a young brand on the same side as you, it might be a big risk for them.
But the protest organizers are going to aim big for the next round of boycott targets, some of the largest and most politically connected companies in the country. As they see it, any firm that supports the government is fair game. And while they will continue to front their boycotts online, they will also continue to come out for the cause. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, Bangkok.
Tens of thousands of people marched through Minsk on Saturday, calling on Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko to step down in mass demonstrations that showed no sign of abating nearly a month after the elections his opponents say was rigged. Columns of protesters defy a government, warning not to march, waving red and white opposition flags and shouting, "Go away and you are a rat." The human rights group Spring 96 said at least 70 people were arrested. Russia's Interfax news agency reported several people were injured when police broke up a protest outside a state-run tractor factory. Al Jazeera's Bernard Simit reports from neighboring Louisiana.
There is still some safety in numbers for the tens of thousands of protesters on the streets of Minsk. The Ministry of Interior in Belarus has warned them that demonstrations are illegal, closing off city squares and streets. But that hasn't stopped people descending on the capital for a fourth week of protests against the continued leadership of President Alexander Lukashenko. He claims he won the August 9th election with 80% of the vote. The opposition say the poll was rigged and they want a rerun. As protesters made their way home on Sunday, security forces seemed to take advantage of the thinning crowds, pulling out people apparently at random, according to witnesses, and bundling them into vans. Other video has emerged on social media of masked men in civilian clothes beating up people on the streets of Minsk. In one, they're breaking down the door of a cafe where the owner had given shelter to protesters.
People started running inside. We locked the door, and then around 15 to 20 people in black masks started to smash the glass and took some people away.
Human rights experts from the United Nations say they've received hundreds of reports of cases of torture and beatings by police. This is Olga Kovalkova of the Opposition Coordination Council. Sentenced to 10 days in jail, she appeared in Poland on Saturday after she says she was forcibly taken to the border.
They came to the center where I was isolated. They gave me a hat, a mask, and took me out of prison. They made me lie on the back seat, and they drove me away from the isolation center.
At the presidential palace in Minsk, there was tight security to protect Lukashenko from his own people. "We won't forgive, we won't forget," they're shouting. The videos emerging out of Minsk on Sunday night suggest that whatever tolerance the government had for the protesters is wearing thin. That could increase pressure on Western powers to impose sanctions on Alexander Lukashenko and senior members of his administration. Lithuania's foreign minister says in an interview that the European Union's lack of action over Belarus is undermining the credibility of its foreign policy. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera, Vilnius.
And before we end the news, a quick recap of our main headlines. Press release: Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital reacts to tragic demise of young mother. President Barrow attends 57th ordinary session of Ecowas in Niamey. Gambia government slams US over sanctions against Fatou Bensouda. Truck causes travel chaos as its body separates from chassis at the Banjul Ferry terminal. Jakunda youth embark on tree planting exercise. Heavy rain caused floods in Ibo town. On the international scene, Sudan declares 3-month state of emergency over deadly floods. Thai student protest boycotts force businesses to pick sides. Belarus protesters continue pressure on Lukashenko with new march. Well, that's all for this edition of the news. Do enjoy the rest of our programs and join us tomorrow for more news. Thanks for watching and do have a wonderful night.